All right, welcome back to the 51st episode of the podcast we call The Unknown. My name is Michael Volpe. I report from Chicago, Illinois, which is in Cook County, Illinois. I write at michaelvolpe.substack.com. And my broadcast partner, as always, is Richard Hootman. He's somewhere around Fort Myers, Florida. I'm not even sure which part of Florida that is, but it is in Lee County, and I know that's named after Robert Edward Lee because I'm a lot more interested in history than geography. So, and you write at luthmann.substack.com, which is luthmann.substack.com. And we got a lot of stuff going on, current events wise. Donald Trump, I think it's this Friday, is going to meet with Vladimir Putin. I don't know what his title is, but he is the dictator of Russia. He's started a war in 2022. It's well over 3 years into that war with his neighboring Ukraine, which used to be a part of the Soviet Union. He's very upset that it's no longer a part of the Soviet Union. He's actually upset there is no Soviet Union. Is this a good idea? What do you expect to happen? I think they're calling it a summit. We're looking at the New York Times to give you a liberal slant because you're about to hear a bunch of pro-Trump diatribes from my broadcast partner.
Well, we'll look at it this way. This is not going to be Reykjavik. It's not going to be Reagan and Gorby. That's not what this is going to be. They're both coming in hot, okay? Right. And they're coming in hot media-wise, especially. You think of the information and disinformation. A couple of weeks ago, we're talking about British soldiers, doing operations in the Ukraine, reported widely by Russian sources, debunked by Western sources. Now you have the issue with the Russians who are involved in the federal court hack that happened with the PACER system. All this information is being dropped going into this, and we have information wars. Now, the big thing you have to look at is, and it is in a certain way like Reykjavik, because Reagan knew his job was to say no to everything that Gorbachev said, short of that he needed Star Wars done and they needed to stop their nuclear system. And that's what Trump kind of has to do too. He has to say no to everything that Putin wants, short of an immediate ceasefire in the Ukraine. That's the only measure of success right here of whether this is a successful diplomatic foray.
No,
if there is a immediate ceasefire.
Reykjavik, did that happen after Gorbachev had implemented perestroika and glasnost? I think it did, right?
Yeah, but Reykjavik, the big thing that Gorbachev asked.
Well, hold on. So my larger point, I think this is a terrible idea. This rewards Putin for aggression, for really doing nothing positive in the world and only doing negative. Reykjavik happened after the significant reforms of what was still then the Soviet Union. I'd already come to the U.S. We were watching this from the U.S. So Reagan had more leverage, one, and the meeting was as a reward, if you will, for the reforms. Here, Trump has started to put the squeeze onto Putin, but and I think it's done a little. The trade deal with Europe, I think, may be a big deal because they're going to get a lot more energy from the U.S., and that's a huge pipeline. But India immediately announces they're going to get oil or natural gas from Russia. So Putin has a lot of cards to play. I don't see what this accomplishes. I think this is a bad idea.
I'm gonna explain it to you, okay? And Greg Maresca, my cousin actually, who puts out a weekly column, he said in his column, he talked a lot about the stylistic differences between Reagan and Trump. And you're 100% right. Reagan's meetings were a reward for the very strategic steps towards diplomacy. Trump is just the opposite in the sense that Trump is the author of the art of the deal. And what is this? This is his chance to sit in front of Vlad, right, has been tapping him along, and he's getting a little ticked about it, and give him one last chance to ask him for what he wants. Because Trump says it. You never know unless you ask. So Trump is going there not to reward anybody. Trump's going there to make an ask. And the ask that he's going to make is, I want an immediate ceasefire in the Ukraine. And I want you to honor the immediate ceasefire. That's it. Then after that, you're 100% right. Trump can say, I did everything I could. I asked this man to his face for an immediate ceasefire. He has defied not only me, but the entire Western civilization. And there will be consequences because I'm the most powerful man.
Right. Yeah, and Putin, I'm pretty sure Putin has an answer for that. And he can talk about this ridiculous Oval Office meeting that set everything back by months that I hope you'll acknowledge, looking back, was not good for any of the three participants. I'm sure Putin will have, art of the deal. And Trump has gotten a lot of peace deals. He got Azerbaijan, Armenia, Thailand, and somebody, but the four significant ones were the four countries in the Middle East to recognize Israel in his first term. Those were the four significant ones. Um, Reagan may not have written the art of the deal, but I don't. No one
Oh, but
pulled off
the man
greater.
in that administration that would have wrote the article was George Shultz, because he was the brains of the diplomacy. He was one of the greatest Americans ever, with respect to the Secretary of State in diplomacy. So he knew how to get the people corralled. But
Right,
Trump did it
without a
very
shot
differently
being
than George
fired.
Shultz. That's how it is.
Right.
Plain and simple.
So Reagan, his strategy was to build up arms. The the SDI was like a symbol of that, more of a pipe dream, but a way to say we're way ahead of you guys. And then that arms race bankrupted the Soviet Union, and then he came to the table. And it was a multi-pronged approach. Here, Trump hasn't really done anything. He's done a little, but not nearly enough to hold a meeting to pressure Putin. Putin, and look, Gorbachev, I'm not going to overdo it. Gorbachev was not Putin. Gorbachev was a statesman, or maybe at least he developed into a statesman. He was a realist. So he saw that the Soviet Union needed reforms, and he implemented them. You're dealing with a guy. You go in with, oh, I'm just going to tell him, oh, repeatedly, as if he hasn't thought of that yet.
No,
I think
that's
it's
not
a bad
that's not
idea.
what's happening here, Mike. And I think everyone will agree that Reagan and Gorbachev and Schultz, especially, were statesmen. But I think that even Trump's detractors will be the first to say that Putin and Trump are closer to mob bosses, and this is closer to a mafia sit down than anything else, because it's a show of force. It's a demand at the table, and there will be a consequences if we walk away and there's no peace made. That's what this is more than anything else. This is a
Right.
mob sit down, and that's the closest thing I could say. It's not statesman. This isn't White Glove. This is a mafia sit down with guys in $10,000.
Even in a mafia sit down, the mafia bosses always are trying to have leverage before the sit down. They're not trying to sit down
Trump
without
has
leverage.
amazing leverage because Putin knows if he plays it the wrong way, Moscow will be in rubble. He understands that.
I don't think he understands that at all. No, nobody's done anything to him. Trump has made a few trade deals. All right. Next, he's taking over, I think, policing in DC because there's a crime wave. And I'm sure you think this is a wonderful idea. Tell everyone why this is a wonderful idea, and then I'll tell everyone why you're a jackass.
I can't say it any better than the United States U.S. Attorney from the District of Columbia, Judge Deneen Pirro. They said, "Oh, crime is on the way down. Crime is no." Tell that to the families. Tell that to the families of the murdered, the beaten, the raped in D.C. that the crime is going down. That they are a sick city. Okay, it's a system that is not serving anybody. It's not serving public safety. It's not serving the people. And this is the right move to be made. And Trump is showing that, look, if you don't perform your obligations to the people, then the federal government will come in. D.C. is a place where the federal government has authority to come in and do this. Okay, and they gave them home rule, but they abused
Right.
the home rule.
They,
So now we
they,
have a situation where
this
Trump.
isn't the first time there's a federal takeover. Are they doing their job with crime in New York? Should there be a federal takeover there? Crime is actually
Oh yeah,
down in
I think that
Chicago.
if Mondami gets in, then there will be. I think you're right. I think you're
Right,
100%.
right. Oh, so we'll federally. So you're just going to throw federalism completely out the window. Thomas Jefferson is rolling over in his grave. Bad
No,
policing is not a reason for a federal takeover. That's completely absurd. This is very dangerous. And
Michael,
the
they
other
can't
dangerous.
guarantee life,
Hold on.
liberty, or the pursuit of happiness. They cannot
Right, yeah, yeah,
guarantee
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
in the
That's
District of
the
Columbia today, and
right.
those
I got
obligations
it.
of the Constitution.
I got it. The other very serious issue is he continues to create emergencies where there really aren't emergencies, and then use emergency power that isn't supposed to be used the way he's using it. The Aliens Enemies Act is an example. He's doing the same thing here. He claimed an emergency to send troops, I remember the National Guard in to stop the protests in, I think, LA. This is a usurpation of power by the federal government. It is not something I would ever support. I do not support the federal government interjecting itself into state and local government policy any more than I support the Violence Against Women Act, which is a federalization of domestic violence, a completely ridiculous use. And this is very bad. This is going to spread, and he's going to think it's okay to federally take over cities all over the country, and it's not okay. And Hegseth loves it. That guy's a schmuck and should have
Tell
gone a
it,
long time.
Michael. Tell that to the dead. And tell
Right.
that to
Well,
the families,
yeah.
the living
There's
families of the
there's
dead.
always yeah. There's dead. If you're saying that, then are we taking over every city? There's
No,
murders in every city.
I think Chicago's a perfect candidate.
Yeah,
I think
Chicago's
New York's a
crime is
perfect
actually
candidate.
down. So you're not taking over
Tell that to the
Chicago
victims,
because
Mike.
actually
Well, we
the
want
cops
you're
in
in
Chicago are
Chicago.
doing a good job.
Line up victims next week, and we'll ask them what they think about crime. Okay, when you have families, you have young women.
Yeah, so you want to have federal troops in it. You know what? Maybe we should suspend. Maybe we should suspend every right, and cops should be able to walk into anywhere without a warrant too. That should stop crime.
No, Michael. No, not at all. When you have these blue state maniacs, okay, that have disregarded the Constitution, disregarded the Bill of Rights, cannot discharge the basic functions of government, protecting the life, liberty, and property of the people. They can't do it.
Yeah, really? Well, what is the 10th Amendment of the Constitution?
The 10th Amendment is a reserve rights to the states. And
there are certain constitutional rights that he likes.
Subject to the supremacy clause of the federal Constitution. If you read you talked about the Violence Against Women Act, Morrison versus United States. Okay, that case talks about the Violence Against Women Act, and they talked about the 10th Amendment in hand with the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Okay, so if you want to do constitutional law, we'll do a whole show on that if you want. And I will tell you exactly what the Constitution means and what states' rights actually means with respect to the supremacy clause.
Policing is a state's issue. So there are certain constitutional rights you think are important. Other ones you're not that excited about. All right. So next, let's go to illegal immigration. I've been wanting to do this. I get this from DHS. I think, yeah, it's the Department of Homeland Security. Every Friday, I believe, what they do is they post the worst of the worst illegal aliens that they caught in the previous week. And so, number one, Israel Kobian Sandoval, a criminal illegal alien convicted of homicide in Chicago, Illinois. Somehow he was roaming the streets. Not anymore. Ray Bautista Asario, a criminal illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. And somehow he was roaming the streets. And you can see there's, I think, 6 of them. My favorite phrase from Trump is bad hombre. He is definitely catching a lot of bad hombres, a lot more than the previous administration, a lot more, probably than all except President Obama. President Obama sent a directive on day one that all non-citizens who are convicted of a big enough crime are to be deported. And as a result, he deported more people than any president in U.S. history. He and Bush combined to deport more people than all the presidents combined in the 1900s. But be that as it may, President Trump, I think, is doing a very good job of being very aggressive. But is he doing too good a job? Is he too aggressive? So before I get the next one up on the screen, what do you think of first of all, I think that's good PR. That whoever's in the communications department of DHS, I'll give them a B+ on creating the worst of the worst. Every Friday they send out the worst of the worst. But what do you think of that?
I'm down here in Florida, and if you saw on that list you just put up, the first 2 were murder, then assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. And after that were rapists, pedophiles, and the scum of the earth. Okay?
Right.
I think that they should stay in this country long enough to either be sterilized or to get a lead antidepressant. Because in Florida, where I am, if you rape a child under the age of 12, you get the death penalty. We don't mess around. You get the needle. Okay? And frankly, I think that Trump is being extremely, extremely beneficent. Something back to their shithole countries where they belong if they're going to be rapists and killers and murderers.
Right. I think they're going to be held in ICE custody until they're transferred back, depending on what their criminal. They're not escaping their crimes. It gets complicated once they're in immigration custody, but nobody is escaping a crime. If they are charged with murder or they escaped before they were supposed to do their sentence, they'll do their sentence. ICE will send them back. But yeah, you're right. Simon Torres de Leon, a criminal illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of rape in Franklin, Ohio. I don't know how this guy was roaming the streets. If you're convicted of rape, you should
assault of a child and sexual assault of a child.
Right. All right.
That guy shouldn't be walking, let alone walking the streets or walking.
You are. Let me see something. Franklin, Ohio. Franklin. County, Ohio, St. Is not. I don't know how that guy was free. But if you're convicted of rape, you're either doing the sentence or being deported. Do the sentence first, and then you're deported. I don't know how that guy was roaming
Oh,
the street.
they changed that actually in the big beautiful bill. There's a provision now, I believe, that says that the option is on the receiving country to either take back their prisoner and keep them incarcerated, or else the government is going to take off the cost of incarceration from their foreign aid. So most of these countries are taking the people back and they're incarcerating them, not just letting them on the streets. Because if it shows that they're not in custody in their country, they lose foreign aid. Or if they keep them in the United States. So that's one thing that I think Trump did in the Big Beautiful Bill. That's a little known provision in the Big Beautiful Bill.
All right, and that's good. I don't know how that guy was. I don't know how any of them were still roaming the streets, um, but they were.